Season 3, TBI Uncovered, the platform that allows both dramatic brain injury survivors, dramatic and brain injury survivors, gunshot survivors, truck survivors, AVM survivors, survivors of various brain conditions, survivors alike, the disability community, caregivers, medical professionals, organizations, anyone suffering brain injuries, brain injuries, those impacted. On today's episode, I have a guest who's an OTpreneur. She's an occupational therapist, author, and realtor, and she's another world changer. So let's welcome to season 3 of TV Uncovered, Chelsia Bradley. Hi, Chelsia.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Good afternoon. Good morning. Good evening. Where you are in the world?
Yeah, wherever you are.
Are you a clubhouse?
No, I'm not on Clubhouse. I've heard of it though, but no, I'm not on Clubhouse.
They always say good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, because it's part of the world are on Clubhouse, so you know who's connected from where, and so it's in the Clubhouse. Well, yeah,
I like it.
I'm so happy to have
Thank
you.
you.
I episode. I know I do episode disease. It's so bad. I should know episode is, but I have no idea. You're like the I would say 7th episode. I think you're number 7. You're number 7. I think you're number 7.
I like
And
it.
so, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day, so my day is going great, and I'm happy to talk. Yeah.
Thank you. That's awesome. Well, let's start by introducing yourself and sharing how your occupational therapy began.
Yeah. So my name is Chelsia, and I am an occupational therapist and also a real estate agent. And so I
Nice.
really wanted to combine those two things because I want to help people find homes that kind of serve their needs. So we work with people who are wanting to age in place, maybe people who are wanting to downsize, even families who want to have like multi generational homes. And so having our skill set in a place where people are doing kind of their everyday things all day, every day, which is their homes. I think occupational
Mhm.
therapists really belong in kind of like this real estate space. So that's what I'm doing now. I focus a lot on the environment, kind of helping people prevent falls and adapting the environment. I've gotten some interest in like the commercial space too. So I'll be starting a series where I'm going around to local businesses and checking out
Really?
how those spaces are because people need to be in homes and in communities
Yeah.
that really help them. So yeah. Yeah.
And I let you. I never heard of an OT being a realtor. It's like so new to me, but it's not possible. But it's so new to me. I'm like, okay. So I
Yeah.
mean, we can do it all. Girls can do it all. So we can
Yeah.
do it all. And I've been in out of therapy for the past 14 years,
Mhm.
both OT and physical therapy. And for the first time, and I mentioned this to you when I reached out to you,
Yeah.
that my first time this year had a female African American occupational therapist. And so to this year, I never met one before, like ever, in my whole journey of recovery,
14 years. Yeah.
14 years. And so I was like, oh, I was like, yes. So when you were to become OT, were the other students of color in your class, or what was that? What was that? What was OT school like?
So we had a class of about 95 students. I was
Oh,
one of maybe 5 or 6 Black students. And then we did
okay.
have other BIPOC students who were in the program. But obviously, with 95 students, we were the minority in that. And
Yeah.
so, a big part of why I started the OT Lens page and kind of like being very visible in my occupational therapy journey is because I want to get and attract and kind of highlight the diversity in the field because I think
Yes.
we're less than 3% of occupational therapists, and being a Black female occupational therapist has been a really great experience because I can just kind of see people get at ease when we walk in the room.
Yeah.
I feel like
Mhm.
diversity is important because of how people do things, like Black people do things differently, like combing their hair, just all of these things that I can relate to. And we don't have to have like that preliminary conversation about it. We can just do it. Like, okay, you got your wig, let's get your wig, let
Yeah.
me help you with your wig. Let me tie your
It's
headdress. Let
natural.
me help you do all of these things that you don't have to instruct me necessarily. We don't have to have like that conversation beforehand. Like it's just kind of understood. So I think that that's why it's really important.
I definitely agree with that. And I remember when I first went to my therapy location, and I saw African American, I said, oh, I looked at them like, oh my God, like, 'cause I've never. Can you imagine like going all those years without seeing one?
Yeah.
Like just one. And actually it was two, but one was a male. Now I never seen a male. I never seen a male outpatient therapist that was African American. I never seen one. That was color, so I never seen a black male therapist either. I was just like in like shock, like I was just in shock all the time.
Yeah.
But it's so refreshing to see somebody of color, and not that it matters, but it just brings us about a certain amount of comfort. Like you mentioned that you don't get. It's like you put your hair down, like we were talking about whatever. So I'm glad you mentioned that part of it.
Yeah.
Do you have to do OT school and clinical separate, or are they combined?
So they're combined ish. They're combined ish. I'll put it like that, but I'll explain more. So during your first year, you have one clinical experience that's only a week. And then during your second year, you have one clinical experience that's also a week. And then after you finish your kind of like the education part of the program, then you have 2 12-week experiences, and then you graduate. So it's combined and it's required in order to actually get your degree. But you have some that are actually within, like when you're doing your studies, and then you have some when it's like, all right, you're finished, go out in the world and do
be great
things. So
yeah. So and what do you do? What all do you do in clinicals? Like, do you work with like people? Like for example, when I was in therapy, they would ask me, Eric, would you mind that the students do like kind of not like a guinea pig, but kind of like do stuff on you. I was always that person because I'm always like, oh sure, like I'm always like willing to do it. And I'm considered as like a good study, I guess. I guess you would put it like so, a good case study, whatever. And so I was like the person they asked all the time. So
so first of all, we appreciate people like you who are willing to help us learn because we're nervous. So if we have somebody like you who's like, girl, do whatever, that puts us at ease. And then it also helps us, with our clinical skills and stuff. So for my first fieldwork experience, I was at an acute hospital in Ohio. So I was there for a week and I saw all different types of diagnoses. I mean, you had people who were coming in from a fall, people who had like lymphedema. I mean, that's kind of like the best place to learn because you have pretty much everybody is coming into the hospital, but then you also have all of the other disciplines who are there. You have nurses, you have doctors, you have physical therapists. So I learned so much in just that 1 week experience. Because of COVID, my second 1 week experience was altered. So we did something with our management class, and we worked with a local business like Oasis, and we developed like an online program with them to deliver. And so then that was a little bit different. And then my last 2 weeks, I worked with another occupational therapist and realtor, who's my mentor and friend, Gretchen Kingma. And then I worked at the Stark Lab, so with Dr. Susie Stark, which is a research lab, and that focused on the environment too. So I had two pretty non-traditional clinical opportunities, but that's really what kind of pushed me where I am now.
Okay, I love that. So, for those who don't know what OTs do or occupational therapists, what OT means, occupational therapy therapists, what do you all do? Like, what part of the body do you mainly focus on?
Mm-hmm. So we help people do what they want and need to do. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. We work with every single part of the body. I mean, we're looking at the whole person, which is what makes our profession such a unique one, because we're looking at cognition, so how a person is thinking. We're looking at how they're regulating their emotions. We're looking at how they experience like sensor activities, because all of these things impact how they do things in their day to day. So being able to touch and feel water and distinguish hot from cold, that's going to be important so they don't burn themselves. Looking at the major muscle groups, how they're moving, because you have to move from room to room in order to do what you need to do. We're again, looking at their memory. In order to be able to cook, you have to, remember the steps that go into cooking and the safety and things like that. So we're looking at the whole person. But what's really cool is that we also look at the environment. So we are adapting the environment in order to support the person as well.
Okay. I love that it's so well rounded. Like
Yeah.
you do everything, not just one thing. I do everything because I know physical therapists not only focus on the lower body, but even as a physical therapist work on the top part because you got to be able to balance yourself to walk and do those kind of things. So I'm currently in therapy myself. So I'm physical therapy, and we work on all balance stuff and all kinds of stuff. So it's like you said, it's the whole body for both physical and occupational therapy. So,
and what really, so although some of the professions can overlap, like again, we're working with people on coping skills, just like a therapist might. We're also working with people, moving their body, range of motion, like a physical therapist would. But what's going to distinguish each of the professions is why we're doing it. So occupational therapists, we're doing it so that you can do whatever it is that you need to do, and so that you can, take a bath, you can clean, you can manage your bills. Like the way that we're doing it also matters. So we're not just going to have you doing exercises. We're going to pick something or choose something that's important to you, and then the effect or the carryover from that is also going to increase your strength or your range of motion or whatever the case may be. So how we do it, why we do it, and then what our end goals are just look a lot different from other professions.
Yeah, because they tailor it to the specific client that they're helping at the time. So I remember doing what are your goals, things like that. So
what matters to you? What's important to you? We're asking those questions.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I have to say, I apologize to all therapists because I am a kidder. And I say, ouch, 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 when I'm in stretch. So I'm sorry, so all therapists out there that my head. I was kidding. I wasn't in pain. I was kidding with you also. Sorry. I'm such a kid. I mean, and therapists are so serious sometimes. And I get it's a serious thing. It's just a job, but it's like, loosen up.
Yeah. Connecting with your client and learning that side of you.
Yeah.
Really use that to our advantage too. So we can joke and we can do whatever it is that we need to do.
Absolutely. So what was it like being a minority in OT field?
So I think that's a harder question for me to answer just because I have created such a off the beat sort of path. Like I'm not working in a traditional field like a hospital or an outpatient clinic or, inpatient rehab or anything like that. I'm kind of on my own journey. So I think that already looks a lot different from a typical thing.
Sure.
But again, just from my clinical experience working, with the research lab and going into the inpatient and doing recruiting and then going into people's homes and traveling and things like that. Again, I think it adds a level of comfort. Like the way that people talk just kind of changes when I walk in the room. Like from an initial conversation that we might have on the phone where I'm scheduling them. And then when they see me, they'd be like, girl, I did not know, I didn't know what to expect, and so then it's just like you said, like they kind of let their hair down, which is really cool. I think that's been a really interesting experience. So I value that a lot.
Okay, I love that. Can you tell us any OT tips or secrets, tricks of the trade, as you may call it, or things that may be easier for people to do? Just one tip, something that's easier to do around the home or that they're working on.
So the home is a big one for me. Again, just because that's where I've spent most of my time, and being in real estate, that's kind of where I focus on. I think the one tip that I would give people is really understanding what it is that occupational therapists can do with you. I think that's important. I think learning what it is that, having a conversation with your doctor or watching, something like this where you're listening to occupational therapists and kind of understanding how it is that they can help you. I think is a game changer just because if people don't know what it is that we do or how we do it, then they may not realize that they need us on their team. So we have people who specialize in driving rehabilitation, people who specialize in low vision, people who specialize in home safety, aging in place. I mean, you have OTs, professional organizers who are occupational therapists. So I think that would be my first tip, is to just kind of look into us, listen to us and be like, okay, I see how this might be able to fit. And if not for you, maybe for somebody else that you know.
So basically narrow it down to what what your needs are. Get the current thing that is. Okay.
Yeah, think about what it is that you may be having some difficulty with, and then figure out initiate the conversation if occupational therapists might be able to help you.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So this is a tip, y'all. Oh goodness, thank you for saying that. Yeah. So what's one misconception about occupational therapy that you've heard or that you know to be true?
So one thing that I've heard that I just don't even know where it came from was that we only work with like hands or the upper extremity. And I just, like, we do have certified hand therapists. A lot of physical therapists, occupational therapists do have a specialty in hand therapy. I get that. But I don't know, like, that's just been this trend, I guess, like what people have been talking about, like, why do so many people think we only work with hands?
I didn't do that before, ever. Like upper body, yes. Just hands, no.
Yeah, upper body and hands. Like we only, like PT works with lower body and we work with upper body. And I'm like, we work with the entire body. I mean, we work from every, top down, because you use everything in order to do what you want it to do. So I think that's one misconception that's just kind of woven its way through. That's just not true.
I guess it's from a lack of not knowing and understanding of what it really is and how to differentiate the two, because you see it and it's like, well, that was the same to me. They're doing the same thing. Like I said, I do balance in physical therapy too. I do OT as well, and so it's like you kind of see the same thing. So like, what do you do? What's the difference? So it's kind of like we're kind of like stuck to their judgment. So
I think it's again how we do it. So we're not just going to do again exercises. We're going to have you working on range of motion while you're lifting up your laundry basket to put it into your top load dryer. So how we do it, and again, why we're doing it, and then what our end goal is. Our end goal is to help you with range of motion, but it's so you can do whatever it is that you need that range of motion for. Does that make sense?
It does. It really does. I didn't know that it can be very technical at times. Like even though something simple as like buttoning your shirt or putting clothes on a clothes hanger, getting clothes out the dryer, like all that's considered like OT type of stuff. Like and I did ADL stuff, active daily living.
Yes, you got it.
That what it is, active daily living. Okay. I got it right. Yeah, I did.
So we do activities of daily living, and then we also do IADLs, which are like the instrumental activities of daily living. So you have people who work with maybe people who are reintegrating from prison, or people with mental health conditions who are learning life skills. So bill paying, managing a house, traveling, getting around in the community. I mean, we do it all. So
I mean, y'all are amazing. Y'all amazing people. I remember the first time I had OT, not the first time, but like maybe like my 5th year or so, during my injury, I learned how to put my shirt on by myself. She said, Erica, don't teach you to put your shirt by yourself. I'm like, yeah, right. With one hand, yeah, right. And I'm able to. I just love how it just opens a whole new world for you. And I'm thankful for OTs. Thank you all the OTs out there. Thank you so much. It's so amazing what you all do. Therapists period in general.
Yeah.
Y'all some amazing people. Y'all some amazing professional people. And kudos, hats off to you all. So y'all so amazing. So aside from like your work life, you're a mom to you baby girl.
Yes.
And I mentioned after having a long day and seeing your baby girl makes it all better, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Because you're working hard for who you're doing it for. It's not like for no reason. Yeah. And so how do you manage being an OTpreneur? Mom, occupational therapist, and realtor.
Yeah, wife. I mean, just all of it.
That's why I add that in there too. You said wife?
Yeah, I mean, just
that too.
So that's the really cool part about being an OTpreneur, is that it gives you that flexibility to manage all of those things better. So taking her to doctor's appointments, or when she has, professional development day at school and I need to go get her, like I have that flexibility to do it. So that's why I wanted to pursue this non-traditional route. Like I wanted to kind of go off this offbeat path, not only because you have a higher earning potential, but again, I need that flexibility in my life. I mean, I got pregnant my second semester of OT school. So immediately I knew that I had to, kind of set myself up to make sure that this would be a success. And so that's what I did. Yeah.
So are you considered a traveling OT? Now, I interviewed recently traveling PT. So would you say you're the same? Are you a traveling OT?
No. So no, so let me tell you a little bit about what I do. How about I start there?
Okay, good.
So I am a realtor. So again, I help people find homes that kind of fit their needs.
Right.
Then I also teach at WashU as a lab assistant and as a one fieldwork educator. So I teach on Mondays in the neuro course and then also in a management 1 and 2 courses. And so then part of also what I do is working as an occupational therapist on an as needed basis with the research lab. So the lab that I completed my fieldwork studies in. So I kind of combine all of those things. And then I also have a very active page, as you can see, the OT Lens, where I connect with a lot of students. And so I do a lot of content creation for that, and I create a book, and I've been selling that and selling like my study notes. And so I've kind of found myself being like a renegade OT. So I got my foot.
Renegade. I got your groove. So yeah.
Yeah, but I like it. It's not too much. It's perfect. It's everything that I want to do, and I'm doing it. So
it's good.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Like all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's my path. So
it's your life. It's what you enjoy doing, what you're passionate about. So you gotta have your passion for it. So I love that you're happy and you're doing it. So that's wonderful. Yeah. So what's your favorite thing about being a mother?
I think so not only seeing her grow, like that's been amazing. I mean, you have like a little baby who you're just like so careful with, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to break you. And now she's jumping off of couches and just, it's like, mommy, and it's only 2 years. So I feel like that's the greatest part about motherhood is that you bring life into this world, but then that life just kind of its own path, and then you just get to be there to watch it, and you're just like, whatever it is that you do, you're going to be so amazing at it because of who you are. And maybe I'm biased because she's mine, but I mean, I just feel like the sky's the limit for that little girl.
So it's okay. You're entitled to that. So I love that. Sky's the limit. It's definitely anything's possible. So I love that. So that kind of took you into your next venture as a mom. You mentioned to being an author. So was that already in the plans to write a book, or was it already in the plans, or did baby girl inspire you to write a book?
So as you see, I kind of just go with whatever I feel like is within my reach. Like nothing is off limits to me. Like it might look a little chaotic, but I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna do it.
You'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So what ended up happening with that is that as I was filling out her baby book, I was like, wow, I wish moms had something for this, first time moms, because we are going through this experience with them, and it would be really cool to document that journey. Like we are going through a lot of firsts too. Like I was my first time breastfeeding. That was my first time taking her to the doctor. It was my first time, like we have a lot of firsts with our first child as well. Like we're going through both of these things. And that's why I created it. I'm like, let's like the same way that we got like, the baby book, let's have like a first time mom journal too.
I love that.
Yeah.
You don't see it great. I love that. So it's called I Am Mother, a first time mother's guide, first time mother's journal, motherhood first. Yes. I love that. Can you explain the cover? Like what's the cover?
So another thing too, especially with COVID, I was thinking a lot about how sometimes you can kind of get wrapped up into motherhood and kind of forget to pour back into yourself. And so this was one way for me to do that, was to go into journaling and really keep myself grounded in who I am as a person. Like, yes, I'm a mom. Yes, I'm a wife. Yes, I'm an OT, but I'm also Chelsea, and I matter too. And so this was all about just kind of pouring into yourself to make sure that you're also growing. And so some of the pages in here are about self-care. Some of the pages in here are about kind of like your community and just kind of getting back to who you are and reminding yourself of that.
I love that. That's so beautiful. So where'd you find the time? What was the process like? I'm just like, if you, I cannot imagine a kind of baby. I don't know if she's a crier or anything like that, but like get up in the middle of the night, the crying and the changing the diapers and all that. Where'd you find the time?
That, and I was still in school when I wrote this. I mean, this is what kind of brings me joy, like creating, doing. And so you kind of make time for it because it takes your mind off of everything else. So it's not like I was pouring into this like it was work. Like I was pouring into this like it was something that I just really enjoyed doing. So that made it easier.
Good. And I think when you try to force yourself to create stuff that's not aligned with your goals or your life, it makes it more stressful.
Yeah.
Like it's just like me trying to be an astronaut. I don't know about being in there. What are you there for? It has to flow. It has to be who you are. And yes, I think it makes it more easy when it's just something you naturally do. It is you enjoy and it makes a big difference.
I find myself inspired. Like whenever I get inspired, I'm like, let's just go. Like even for practical OT work, like I just found myself inspired, and I'm like, let's just do it. Let's.
And what is that? And what is that about? Does that have tips and stuff in it, or?
So both of these I created because I felt like it was what I needed when I was in that position. Like as a first time mom, if I would have had something like this, this would have made it, I don't want to say easier, but this would have helped me navigate that first year. And then the same for this. So as I was preparing for my occupational therapy licensure exam, I was so bogged down by the amount of reading that I had to do. Like there was nothing out there that made studying for that fun. And this was a big exam. Like it's expensive. It's $550, and like you don't want to fail. It's just so much riding on it. Like this is the last thing that you have to do before you can call yourself an occupational therapist. And so what I started doing on the OT Lens page was posting my study notes as I went. And so I started attracting a lot of students to the page because they were like, oh my gosh, these look so cute and like they're condensed. Like this is a great way to study. And so people were downloading them and saving them and studying from them. And I was like, this is kind of cool. And then somebody's like, you should sell these. Like you should make them into PDFs and then sell them. And so I kept everything on my page free because I wanted to give back to students and help students. But I'm like, well, if people pay for the PDFs, then, it's up to them. Those started selling very well. I sold over 125 copies of those notes. And so then I was like, well, how about I create study guides, like study content in a very refreshing way. Like, for example, let's say, like we'll do strokes. Like this is a sample page.
Okay.
And it's a really kind of refreshing way of studying information without just reading a whole bunch of it. So people are really to the book as well. So.
I love that, and it's very creative, innovative. So I'm here for it. I'm like, I want to get it on OT though. It's just so interesting to see different things. I'm just here for the creativity. I love it. I love it. It's so amazing. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You want to say something?
No.
Okay. So, Miss OTpreneur, you're mentioned to some new things in the realty space. When did your passion for realty begin? Was it like as like a young age, like a teenage age, or was it your young adult age?
So it was actually during school. We had a class that at kind of OTs in different fields of occupational therapy. So we have people come in and talk here, home health therapists, people who worked in the hospital, just kind of from all over. And so one day my professor mentioned that there were a group of OTs who were doing like this non-traditional work, and they were working in the home space like consultants. And so that just kind of sparked my interest. I was like, well, I could see myself doing something, again, that was non-traditional, gave me a lot of flexibility and had like a higher earning potential. And so then I reached out to Gretchen. I just Googled like occupational therapist and real estate, and her name was the only first name to pop up. And so I reached out to her on LinkedIn, and we have been like this ever since. So that's been, it's been cool.
It's amazing how just the stars align for you and just everything just flow together. It's so amazing. So you are a licensed therapist, correct? I mean, I'm sorry, licensed realtor.
Yes.
Okay. So, and how has that journey been? Like, or do you understand like houses or like what exactly? I don't know much about realty besides the real estate agent go to the house and all that kind of stuff. It's like, do you do that part of it, or you like is there another part of it?
Yeah, so it depends on the person that I am serving. So like, for example, I'm currently working with Gretchen with a client. Both of them are wheelchair users who are moving in state from out of state. And so they had very specific criteria for the type of house that they needed. Like they're both power wheelchair users. And so we're looking at like the width of the door. We're looking at how many steps are required to enter. And if there are steps, can we take those steps out? So we're looking for homes that might be easily viable for this couple so that they can be in a place that works for them. So it depends on who the person is and then what their needs are, what their diagnosis is. Is it something that's chronic? Is it something that progresses? It's like we're basically asking all of those OT questions when we first contact, and then using that information to help find a house.
Gotcha. Okay, I love that. So aside from all this work stuff, what do you do for fun?
Creating for fun. Like I have like the iPad with the Apple Pencil, and so I like drawing. And
okay.
Somewhat. Like it's just fun for me. And then I have a dog. She's somewhere over here, but we go on walks. I like doing family walks, and then I'm a big person who likes to rewatch the same TV show. So I'll watch
Me too.
I'll just keep rewatching it.
Me too.
Me
too. It's so good. Yeah. I eat the same thing. I eat the same foods. Like if I enjoy it, I want it. Like it's just. Yeah. I'm with you.
My husband, he's like, you've already seen this 3 times, and I'm like, yes, and I'm gonna watch it a 4th time. So
you see something different every time you watch it. So it's like I'll see something different every time. So.
And Scandal came out like 10 years ago, 11 years ago, or something like that. So it might mean something different to me now. I don't know. I'm just gonna my comfort.
I agree with you on that. I definitely agree. So, what is creating awareness for people of color who want to be occupational therapists as well? Like as well. What does it mean to you to get awareness for those people?
So that's initially why I started the OT Lens, just because there's such a presence with younger people in general. But I have bigger goals as well. Like I want to do campus tours. I want to talk to students, like getting in front of people before they make decisions about what they want to do. Because it starts that early, being on a pre-OT track, or so getting in front of people early. But again, I think diversity is so important, not only because in classrooms you're teaching other future practitioners about diversity. So like just learning from a diverse background, and not just where people grow up. Like we have people in rural areas, you have different religions, like so many different groups of people were in it. And so I learned so much. Like I had one client who was Catholic and one of her classmates was Catholic. And so to help with some of the hand strengthening and stretching activities, they incorporated a rosary. I'm not Catholic, so I wouldn't have even thought about it.
Gotcha.
So it was such a great experience.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important, because you're getting into in front of people who are using the services, and then also you're helping your classmates learn too.
I love that. That's a great explanation, and like I said, it makes it more relatable. Because people are like, well, I don't want to go right there because I don't know if I can use that. But like you see, you had an OT friend who was Catholic as well. They were able to relate to the patient who was Catholic, so that was a connection right there. So, or like you said, a person with the hair wrap thing, it's the same type of thing. So, I love that.
Meals, I mean, everything.
I love that. So, what's next for you?
So I'm gonna stay on my OT real estate journey. Again, I am looking at commercial spaces too, so I'll be launching that series. And then me and Gretchen, we are launching what's known as like the Modern OT Club. So it'll be a paid membership club exclusive to other occupational therapists who are entrepreneurs. And so we'll have a bunch of different features, podcasts, tutorials. I mean, pretty much anything that you can think of to help you define, develop, and grow your business, OT business. That will be what that club is all about. So I think that's it. But I'm always open to whatever comes my way.
I love that. Well, how the wind blows, and whatever God brings your way, you're here for it. Lots of your goals. I'm here for it. I love that. You're open. You're flexible. You're open. That's you get more when you're open. You receive more, and I love it. You're so much more well-rounded when you're open to different possibilities. So that's very important. Well, I thank you so much for your time. Again, just to interview with me, it means so much to me. And you're inspiring other people who are of color and who want to be in OT space. Because people, I don't know if I can be in OT space, but seeing people of color who've done it before, whether it's 10 or 15 or whatever, you're showing that it is people in OT space that it can be successful. And you don't have to do the one thing. You can do OT and realty, whatever you're going to do. OT and cooker, be a cook, whatever. You can be OT and I don't know, doctor, I don't know. But you can do different things. And showing that it's possible. And that's so important that people, young girls, can see that, I could be an OT because I saw OT on TBI Uncovered. So, or whatever the case may be. So I love that you're doing what you're doing, your Instagram page, and with your overflow of blessings and seeing success in your journey and OTpreneur journey. And so I'm just so happy to meet you and to know you. And I pray your books, the practical OT workbook, and your book, The I Am Mother, does more than you can imagine. So I thank you again for your time. Let everybody know they can stay connected with you.
Well, I thank you for holding space for it. But the last part kind of cut out. I think you said, how can people connect with me? You can connect with me. The OT Lens _, that's my Instagram page. I'm very active on there. You can also connect on LinkedIn. Just look me up, Chelsia Bradley, and I'm happy to talk and whatever I can to help. So
I love that. Well, thank you again. Thank you for tuning in for Chelsia's journey. Again, you actually stay connect with her on Instagram at the OT Lens _. And if you're a student to be occupational therapist, follow her and be sure to check out the practical OT workbook. It has notes and all kind of fun things in it. And so I thank y'all for joining me today for today's episode. Hope you join me and Chelsia in her occupational therapist journey and realty journey. And all the things she has going on as a mother and a wife, and just the great things she has going on in her life. And let's connect with me on Instagram, Erica R. Walker 878, and on YouTube, Erica Renee Walker. But tune in tomorrow for another episode of next week for another episode of TBI Uncovered Season 3. I'm Erica Renee. Remember, we have a story, and you took change your word with yours. See y'all later. Bye.